Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the OJ podcast. I'm Olivia.
And
That's
I'm
Jamie.
Jamie.
And we are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs and finals. We're going to do a brief rundown of what occurred over the playoffs, but we're mostly going to focus on Game 7 of the NBA finals because it's Game 7 of the NBA finals. It's usually a pretty big deal. And it was a fun one and a sad one. So we're mostly going to focus there. So I did a mini recap on TikTok, actually. So to plug that social, at 2OJPod on TikTok. Basically, do you mind if we go over the play-in tournament really briefly?
Go for it. I will just sit here nodding.
Okay.
Even though
I'm the
tournament's
basketball fan. I feel like you usually take over most of the other sports podcasts, so this
Yeah.
is really exciting that I get to take the lead.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
And I don't.
Yeah. So basically, play-in tournament works as the 7th through 10th seed are basically kind of wild cards, and they work to compete to play into that spot. So if you're the 7th or 8th seed, whoever wins the 7th and 8th game will become the 7th seed, and then the 9th and 10th will play against each other to see who will compete with the loser of the 7th and 8th seed. So in the East, it was the Hawks versus Magic for the 7th seed. Magic beat the Hawks. They're in the playoffs. For the West, it was the Grizzlies versus Warriors. Warriors win. They go into the playoffs. And then for the 9th and 10th games, it was Heat versus Bulls. Heat win. Bulls are out. And then for the West, it was Mavericks versus Kings. Mavericks win. Kings are out, which kind of expected for all of those. And then as for the 8th seed game, for the 8th spot, it was the Heat versus Hawks. Heat get the upset, they go in, but I actually thought the Heat were going to go in because they have one of the best coaches in the league. Hawks are out, but this game was closer. It goes into overtime. This was a long time ago, so a mini recap. And then Mavericks versus Grizzlies. The Grizzlies win. I put in my little notes to be a little funny that the Mavericks shouldn't have traded Luka. But
Yeah.
honestly, Luka didn't get much further. You know, the Lakers were out round 1, which made, I think, both of us quite happy. So, yeah. Bucks versus Pacers. Indy won. But you aren't really a massive Bucks fan anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world.
No.
Yeah. And you ended up rooting for Minnesota and then Indy, right? In the playoffs anyway?
Yeah.
We have the Clippers versus the Nuggies, which is what I call the Nuggets. They go to Game 7. They're the Nuggies! I think the Nuggets go to Game 7 in both series they were in. They beat LA. And I think the Clippers probably need to blow up their franchise a bit because clearly what they're doing is not working. They've been supposed to go far every year, and then every year they don't go far.
I know what that sounds like.
The Wild?
Any Minnesota sports team.
Oh, yeah, the football team too, right? They always struggle as well. God,
Or
I
the
look
Brewers.
so warm, but I'm just slightly, I think, sun-kissed because I've been working outside so much. We have Pistons, Knicks. Pistons push the series to 6. Knicks are just the better team, though. But Pistons are up and coming. Annika will hate that I'm saying a Detroit team is up and coming, but they are.
She doesn't expect any Detroit team to be good. She expects them all to be bad.
Honestly, though, the Pistons have a pretty solid history. They've only really been bad in recent years. So, I don't know what she's talking about. And, again, the Lions have been good. So, her facts are just not factual.
She says it's all a ruse. They'll just fail eventually.
I think the Pistons have won, 3 NBA championships. They're not a bad franchise. It's, one of the better ones. They're historic. So, I don't know. Timberwolves versus Lakers. Upset alert. You were quite happy about it, and so was I as a Boston fan. I mean, they got demolished.
Yeah.
Yeah. uh, Grizzlies versus Thunder. It was a sweep, pretty boring. Thunder won,
Oh,
obviously,
damn.
and they were the
Yeah.
first seed. Yeah. Celtics versus Magic. Celtics win, but the series was really rough, actually. Like, we were really banged up going into our second round with the Knicks. But we were supposed to win. It was 4-1. There wasn't really any surprise to it. Heat versus Cavs, no surprise. Cavs were the number 1 seed. So, sorry, my mom's texting me.
Ignore.
Present for
What?
Sierra, not me. Rude.
Oh.
I don't know why I had to. Oh, it might be my dad's birthday present, actually. That might be why it's stashed in Sierra's room. Anywho, Cavs sweep. Rockets versus Warriors. Upset. This was the major upset of the first round. Major. Because Rockets were the second seed. And the Warriors.
Oh.
Yeah, Warriors won. Obviously, you know who Steph Curry is, right? You've heard the name? Yeah, 3-point. He's insane. But the Rockets do kind of stage a mini comeback, but they were down 3-1, and the Warriors just played better, so there. I don't like the Rockets. They have our coach that was fired for being, like, a creep.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he, like, got in trouble for, like, sleeping with some executive's wife or, like, someone underneath him or something. And, like, he had brought us to the finals that year, and then everyone was giving us so much shit for taking it seriously and, like, rightfully firing the guy for sexual harassment.
I wish other sports teams could do that.
Is there a specific team you're referring to, Jamie?
Red Bull!
Oh!
Obviously.
Never mind, I know the specific team you're referring to, and I understand. So let's get into the conference semifinals. Pacers versus Cavs. Massive upset as well. Everyone thought it was going to be the Cavs and the Celtics fighting for the NBA Finals, or the Eastern Conference Finals, and then the NBA Finals, and both teams were knocked out in the second round, which was insane. And the Cavs didn't really even have, like, that many injuries. So it was just, like, Pacers kept coming back in the fourth, which will be a common theme throughout the playoffs.
Yeah.
As you know, yeah. But they were, like, scary. So Pacers end up winning 4-1, which is, like, almost a sweep.
There was a lot of 4-1s, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's pretty common, I feel like, honestly, because sometimes when teams are locked in, like, usually there's enough of a differential in the players where I feel like it almost always goes to, like, 7 or 5, and there's very little in between. I mean, I guess that's kind of a lie, though, and recency bias. I guess Celtics would go to 6, but... Nuggets versus Thunder. This was probably the best series, I would say, in the West. Just because it was closer in terms of, like, back and forth games, but the Thunder do end up beating the Nuggets, and I want to highlight that this was, like, Jokic is considered one of the best players in the league on the Nuggets, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA is how I'm going to probably refer to him the rest of the podcast, is the new MVP of the league this year. So it was kind of like an MVP versus MVP battle, which I thought was rather fun. The Thunder do end up obviously winning, though. Celtics versus Knicks. We've had the devastating Tatum injury, which, like, we were already, like, they were constantly coming back against us, which is really sad.
Well, did you see that there's been 3 torn Achilles?
Yeah.
The Bucks,
Halliburton.
And...
it was Damian Lillard, right? Who was the other one. Yeah. I mean, that goes into some... I guess this could be, like, a future podcast topic, because we could broaden this to other sports. But, like, we could go, like, are seasons becoming too long, or are they prioritizing money over, like, players' stability? Because Halliburton and Tatum are both pretty young, and, I mean, Dame's a bit older, but, like, the fact that it's, like, all non-contact Achilles injuries, I think, as well, is crazy. We have a you released the podcast on player health, right? Physical health. We have a podcast on physical health, recorded, uploaded. Please feel free to watch if you want to hear some of our takes on it.
It's literally the episode before this one.
Yeah. We think it's mentally damaging to both see and for the players. Anyway, though, Knicks do end up winning, which is really sad. They keep coming back. Celtics keep getting like 20-point leads and blowing it. So, like, honestly, we kind of deserved this. I know, it's so bad. We kind of deserved it. But did you see the TikToks of New York City going absolutely insane?
Yes, I did.
They hate us there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And, like, the Knicks aren't even our true New York rival. It's so funny. We hate the Yankees. Yeah, Knicks win in 6. Timberwolves versus Warriors. This one was cool because both of the teams upset the previous games they were playing. Because I think it was like the 3rd and 6th for the Timberwolves. So they were the 6th seed. And then the Warriors were the 7th seed.
Yeah.
So it was technically a easier series, I would argue, than what the poor, what's it called? The poor Thunder had to go through. But this one was the most boring series of this round, I would say. But Timberwolves won, and I know you were super excited in picking them to go all the way.
I had to pick them to go all the way. If they were already going into the conference finals, why wouldn't I?
I don't blame you one bit. For the conference, wow, I cannot spell conference on my handy dandy note sheet, can I? It's spelled wrong every time. It's a hard word. It was the Pacers versus
You just
Knicks.
keep forgetting an E.
It's hard. I spelled it Confrence, and I think there's another E supposed to be in between the N and the C, right? Conference. Okay, well, that's a hard word. Literally, though, Jamie, no one expected this series. Nobody.
Well, it's there.
It was a good series too, I would argue. I think you and I were talking about, or at least I know I was texting you during the game, because this is one I actually did catch, where the Knicks completely choke away game 1. Literally. That was a reference to the Halliburton going like this. Because it's like a indie thing. Yeah. I'm funny to myself. But basically, the Pacers' momentum and tenacity, a common theme throughout the playoffs, even into the finals. Like, they were playing strong to the last moment. It was just too much. And I wrote, sorry, Spike Lee, Pacers in 6, because Spike Lee is a big New York Knicks fan, as you know.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Pacers won. So all of New York City was devastating. I think one of the basketball announcers, Steven Adams, I believe is his name, he's a Knicks fan. So he was like, can you imagine for New York City how it would be to get us a championship? And then they didn't get a championship, and I laughed in Bostonian.
Losers.
And then OKC versus the Wolves. I was really sad about this series because I thought the Timberwolves would push it further. But OKC wins 4-1. But I do think the Timberwolves have a bright future. So I feel like they've been making underrated and really hated moves at the time, but that they've been kind of working out for them. So, like, I think they have a decent future in it for them. It's just they have they kind of fixed their lineup problems trading Karl Anthony Towns, but it's odd.
They just need to get the energy from the Lynx and take it all in.
They honestly, I've been seeing talk of like uniform changes where the men's team will wear the correspondent, and I think they should, because I think it's a great advertisement. Also, a lot of the women's uniforms are cooler looking. I'm sorry.
I agree. They have cooler logos too.
Whatever. And now into our finals. I'm just going to quickly recap what happened before we discuss game 7, because I know that's what, like, this was a while ago, and I know I'm the basketball fan, so I'm more likely to remember it than you are. Yeah. So 7 games for the finals, 4 for a champion. It was 2 small market teams, which is really rare. And there's a joke on Reddit where Adam Silver is pissed because the Knicks didn't make it because they were the only large market team left.
Mm.
So, but they didn't. So it was Indiana and OKC. That's such a small market like duo.
I'm always here for the small market teams as a small market state.
I think it also shows that like when your franchises are smart, like we'll get into a bit of the OKC stuff later. But especially OKC, they might have the best GM in all of basketball, honestly. Like when you are
Mhm.
smart, you can build around yourself, even if it's hard to attract talent. So that's always a good sign. This would be the new winner. Again since 2019, we haven't had any repeats of champions since 2019, which is really
I
cool.
like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
I think it shows how tough the league is and how like actually competitive it is because I believe it
Hmm.
was Raptors Lakers. I think 21 was the Bucks.
I think so. That sounds right.
That sounds right to me too. I'm trying to think. 24 was the Celtics. Milwaukee, I think, was 21. Denver, I think, won before us. I'm missing that middle. The Warriors. That's who they were. Okay, Warriors won in
Mm.
22. Yeah. Um, but Warriors were kind of the only lamer one because they had won in a lot in the 2010s, obviously.
Hmm.
But it
Yeah.
was still really exciting to see. But anyway, game one of the NBA Finals, OKC is where it was played. And I
I
have in my.
remember this one.
Do you want to read the note? Because it's funny.
She literally wrote, "Imagine counting out the Pacers with less than a minute left in the fourth."
Literally, that's why I couldn't leave the game. Yes, well, one I was recording, but the game on Sunday, I didn't want to like stop paying attention because I'm like, it's less than a minute in the fourth, and it's the Pacers.
And I feel like they were kind of coming back for a little bit.
They were like, that's where it was crazy. I think if they didn't, we'll get into it. But they had an abysmal third quarter, and I think that's what
Yeah.
screwed them. Yeah. But basically, Halliburton is really clutch. Pacers end up winning by 1 point. OKC kind of stunned. Game two. This was a bit of a pun as well. The Thunder clapped back. It's so
So
bad.
stupid.
It's so bad, but it's uh
Oh.
basically the Thunder just get a massive lead in the first half and they never have to worry about the Pacers again. Series is
Mhm.
tied. This was also played in OKC because it goes 2-2, 1-1-1. 123-107 final score. Game three is in Indiana. Pacers, great fourth quarter team, rally in the fourth. They win. It's not really one player though on the Pacers who did it. It was a massive team victory. Final score 116-107.
I think
Game.
the only thing I remember from that one, or no, I think it was game four. Never mind. It was game
Okay,
four.
we'll wait. We'll wait.
What?
Game four, Thunder even the series out 2-2, so they steal back home court advantage, which I think obviously
Hmm.
serves them well considering they won on their home court. Um, Shy and Williams combined for 62 points, so they were really the star of the show there. Um, and basically, the Thunder go on a big run in the final 3 minutes. They go on a 12-1 run to win because I think before that it was pretty even. Final score ends up being 111-104.
Yeah. The only thing I know from game four is that a bunch of the IndyCar drivers went to that one because, living in Indianapolis,
Indy
gotta go to
500.
other sports. Yeah,
Weird
so
question on the podcast, but do you happen to have any notes on the Indy 500 that I can snatch?
no, I didn't really.
Like historical notes.
Historical notes?
Yeah,
Like,
for my other job.
oh,
If you don't, it's fine. I can research it myself some other time, but
yeah, I can't think of much. I know some like history of the track. I know the last time an F1 race was there. Um,
okay.
that's about it.
Don't worry about it then. It's one of the list items on his like 900 random lists that I can like work from. I'm
Oh.
actually doing one of my own decision today. It's not on the list,
Oh.
but oh, uh, I was just curious because I'm like, he's like, I want more sports ones, and I'm like, well, I'm
Oh.
doing swimming today because he doesn't have anything really on swimming. So I'm like, oh, I can do that like really
Mhm.
easily. I wanted to do F1, but he had done one on F1, and I'm like,
Well,
it's sad. Anyway, I did game four. Game five, I said war flashbacks for OKC because they have a massive in the fourth they have a similar lead to what they had in game one.
mhm.
But they don't blow it this time. They end up winning.
Mhm.
120, 109, played in OKC. OKC takes the series lead 3-2. Game six, it's for the Pacers, it's win or go home. And they completely dominate start to finish. OKC has one of their worst offensive performances all of the year, and they protect home court. The game is going back to game seven in OKC, and the final score is 108-91. So,
I I was
uh,
really happy when the Pacers won because I think the day before or it was the day after, the Panthers won in 6 games. And I was really sad because I was hoping both series would continue on the track of like doing the same thing. But then
yeah,
the Panthers won and the Oilers didn't have their comeback, and I was very sad.
we're not podcasting about hockey for that very reason. Both of us are such haters of the Panthers to where we
I hate
refused.
the Panthers. Ah!
Like Jamie and I both despise them, so it just wasn't happening. We're like, we're not talking about this. We don't want to.
I'm not talking
Whereas
about them.
at least like OKC is a likable team. It's just we were both rooting for the
Yeah,
Pacers.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I have to say I did pick the Pacers to win this game, so I was rather upset they lost. Um, but from what I remember going into the game, Halliburton was previously injured, just not as seriously. So he was already playing
Oh.
injured, which I do think is important to note because maybe that was like an extenuating circumstance. It could have been, I don't know.
Mhm.
But also to start, Halliburton was going off, so him getting injured, I think, was like the most devastating thing that could happen because I think he started like with three straight threes or something. And like he was doing really well up until his Achilles and the
Mhm.
injury in the
Yeah.
first. It was really sad.
Yeah. That Achilles injury looked like nothing happened, but so much happened.
Well, like that's exactly what happened to Tatum if you watch. Like
Mm,
I don't think anybody hit Halliburton. He like just
no.
went down.
He was going to pass it as I just watched it. He was like going to pass the ball and like slipped.
It's not great. And those
Yeah.
take forever to heal too. So like
Yeah.
we'll talk about the future of like kind of what we think Indy will deal with because if Halliburton is hurt for the playoffs next year, I don't think they'll be as good,
Mhm.
obviously, as they were because he is their best player. But like that's devastating because three of the best
Mhm.
players in the Eastern Conference out, like not great. Um. Anyway, I'm kind of gonna skim over the rest of the first half because I don't think it was like it was interesting. Like they ended up 48-47 at the half, but it was really just kind of
Mhm.
a back and forth. There wasn't anything like too
Yeah. I
big.
remember looking that it was just back and forth.
Yeah. So to get into the third, this is where Indy kind of loses the game. A lot of people were questioning what they could do without Halliburton anyway, but Indy is a good playoff team. Like they are a very deep team, so they still had a
Mhm.
chance. But like I tweeted about this too. Actually, I was like, they like it sucks for them that Halliburton is injured, but
Mhm.
like you gotta protect the ball still. You have one job. You're playing basketball. Don't
Yeah.
lose the ball.
Don't
And
lose the
what were
ball.
you doing? What
Losing the
did they do,
ball.
Jamie?
They
Yeah.
lost the ball a
Um.
lot.
Yeah. So, I just saw this stat when I was watching the game. But at 7:13 in the fourth quarter, Indy had 13 turnovers, which is a lot. Like you got,
That's
yeah,
funny.
it's a
That's
lot.
like
And I think like most, I don't think OKC had very many at all. Like they were protecting the ball.
that's like fifth grade me playing basketball kind of turnovers. Like,
Granted, I think these people are a little better than you, and probably like OKC had probably I think the best defense in the league or one of the top defenses. So
mhm.
it was a hard team to go up against, but still. Um, but yeah, OKC starts to pull away in the third, and McConnell, who's like a really pesky player, you probably saw
Mhm.
him on the highlights. He was like short white guy. By short, I mean like 6'1". He is single. No, I mean you're not a Pacers fan, and honestly, neither am I.
Yeah.
But it's okay. McConnell is single-handedly keeping the Pacers in the game. He has four back-to-back layups in a row for 10 points, and no one is stopping him. There was a stat shown where it's like McConnell, everybody else. He is single-handedly keeping them in the game.
That's
But
good.
obviously, Shea was playing pretty decent, and OKC kept hitting important momentum carrying threes. Um, and then at 156 in the third, there was 8 turnovers for Indiana. So that is showing some really strong defense got ramped up
Mhm.
by Oklahoma City. Um, and then this was a really nice three that I wanted to know. Jalen Williams hits a really good, I think, momentum defining three at 120 in the third. Um, in the OKC crowd, I don't know if you noticed this, it was so loud.
Yes. Yeah.
It was so loud.
Yeah, because I think they kept chanting defense a lot.
Probably. Yeah. Well, they had to. But I think I feel like if you're a team, your team name is the Thunder, you kind of have to be a loud like fan base. You know,
You have to be loud. That is
you
your
have
only
to be.
choice.
Like, if you're quiet, can you really call yourself the Thunder? Like, come on. Um, Score at the end of the third ends up being 68-81. OKC is up. And then another really big momentum defining moment is SGA hits a big three to bring the lead to 16 up in the fourth. And again, I'm not counting Indy out, but the home court advantage was home court advantaging.
I was thinking this. I was like, well, we just saw Indiana do amazingly on their home court
Yeah.
the game before, and now they're not on their home court and struggling. Like, what if they were on their home court?
I mean, I think if they were on their home court, it might have been different because I think Indy fans would have been screaming very loudly
Hmm.
because basketball is huge in Indiana.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but also again they lost Halliburton, who is their biggest player and like was set
Yeah.
up at that point. Like again, his first three shots were threes that went in. Um,
Hmm.
like pretty good threes as well. Like he was set up to have an amazing game and they lost him. And so it's like if Halliburton was there and able to go off like he had already started to do, I do think there is a chance this game goes very differently. Like that's the big
Hmm.
factor, I would say. And I think because OKC had all the momentum, that's why the home court was so home courty. Like I think the fans were probably terrified because
Well,
they've seen
yeah.
Indy come back like a billion times. So they're like,
Well,
"Oh
and
my
then
god!"
also it's like a sea of blue because like they
Oh
gave
yeah,
them shirts, so it's like the little bits of yellow scattered about.
I imagine there's not many Indiana Pacer fans living in Oklahoma City.
No.
I would be shocked. Um, but yeah, OKC. I think the crowd especially like hammered home how much momentum they had. Words are hard.
Hmm.
OKC defense is defending. I'd specifically like to highlight Chet Holgram. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I know his face. I don't think I've ever
I
had to
think you
say his name out loud.
spelt it wrong.
I
I think
might.
it
I
is
think I spelled it
Holgram,
hologram.
but you
Spelling is my greatest weakness in life. It's so hard.
Mhm.
But anyway, Chet is how we're going to refer to him now. He was great defensively. Like he was in the paint blocking, he was getting his hands on everything. Um yeah. There was a flagrant foul call. Um they don't give the flagrant, which I agreed with. The Indiana
Mhm.
player hit, I forget which player hit Lou Dort, but somebody hit Lou Dort, I think, in the face. But it was clearly like reaching
Oh.
for the ball. It wasn't trying to like punch him or anything.
Mhm.
So that kind of goes unnoticed, but it's a pause in the game, and that's right when Indy starts to go on a mini run. So they go,
That was
yeah.
there.
So I think that was the momentum shift. So Indy goes on a 9-1 run for about 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So suddenly they're within 10 or around 10, 11, 12, like right in it and ready to go, right where Indy wants their enemies.
Mhm.
um, and then Mathurin cuts in to the paint with a layup, and Indy scores again. So they're now within 10. Sorry, 11-1 run. And I'm sitting there like, oh my god, they're gonna do it again. Like, what better?
What a I think I remember I was watching the IndyCar race highlights or something like that, and I kept going to my sports app in that last 5 minutes just to see
I need
what
to
is
know. I need
going
to know.
on.
So I'm sitting there like, there's no other way for the Pacers to do this than to do another miraculous one of a kind that they've done 4-time comeback.
Hmm.
There's no other way. There's 5 teams that have done this comeback, and 4 of them are this year's Indiana Pacers. Like, how could they not do this again? But then we slow down again.
Yeah.
OKC challenges, I believe it's an out of bound play. I'm not sure. I haven't watched anything since Sunday. Like, I didn't watch the highlights because I was watching live. Probably should have to re-prepare for this. But it gets paused to go over another challenge call. And even though it's unsuccessful for OKC to get the ball back, it stops the clock at 4:11, and I think it kind of quenches the momentum a bit. So
Hmm.
scores 93-79, OKC lead. Thunder go up 12 because Chet hits one free throw, he misses another. OKC
I
was
want to
missing.
wait. There was something funny on TikTok I saw
Yeah,
of a girl. It was like a girl, she doesn't know sports as well, and then her boyfriend, who's like a big basketball fan, and she's like, if you are a professional basketball player, you shouldn't be missing free throw shots. They're the same every single time.
I agree. I don't know how you wouldn't just sit there for hours on end in like your driveway, because most of these people have courts in their driveway, and just do like 30 in the morning, 30 at night. You get 60 shots in, and you're just practicing them. Granted, the pressure is probably very different, but like at least learn your free
Paid
throws.
millions of dollars to make that shot, and
I
it's the
know.
same shot every time.
There's a few players. I think there's one specific player that we played a few years ago on the Nets who our strategy was literally just to foul him whenever he got the ball because he would miss like 13 in a row. Like he had one of the lowest free throw percentages ever. He missed 13 in a row. And we were just the strategy was literally called a Hacka. I forget his last name. Hacka. I think it was Claxton. It might not have been. If it's not Claxton, I'm sorry. I could be misremembering, but it was Hacka Clax, and we were fouling him every time because him hitting maybe one shot is better than a guaranteed 2 or 3 pointer.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't hit one shot, so we just like we'd go for the rebound.
That's so
It was
good.
perfect.
That's so
Yeah,
good.
and OKC was missing a ton of free throws, which I'm kind of devastated for Indy that they weren't able to capitalize on.
Yeah.
But again, I think there was a lot of extenuating circumstances. Um, I noted that Nemhard is crazy good at 3 pointers or at a specific three on the Pacers. I don't remember this three, but clearly it was pretty. So in my notes, I mentioned it. And then right after he hits this crazy three, I do remember this. The Pacers just like don't run back fast enough in time, and the OKC
Yep, that was
Thunder,
in the highlights.
yeah, they just get like an amazing free layup, and it was
It was like
completely
completely
unacceptable.
free.
Yeah.
No one was
And my
there.
dad, I was watching with my dad, and he just goes, "Well, that was unacceptable." because we were both, even though like Indy came out of the East, like we were both rooting for Indy. One, because it validated how hard that series was for us last year.
Hmm.
Because Indy was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They weren't expected to make it, and they made it. And even though we swept them, it was like the closest sweep in NBA history. So everyone was being like, "Oh, they're not going to win because Indy like almost won every game." And it's like, no, they made it to the finals this year. It's basically
Hmm.
the same team. They are that good.
Hmm.
Yeah, but anyway, unacceptable layup. There's a 10-point difference at 151. It's 96-86. And I'm sitting there like, Indy has them right where they want them. Well, not really. I was sitting there kind of like, I feel a lot of dread because the crowd, like, again, the crowd, the energy there for the Thunder, I'm like, if they blow this on their home court, like,
Oh my God, that'd be
I can't
insane.
imagine. But internally, I was like, if Indy comes back, this is the funniest thing. But then Indy gets a crucial three free throw. Indy gets another two, I believe. They go up at like 12. Indy misses a crucial free throw, and I think this is probably where they lost the game.
Mm,
Because after they missed that free throw, they go down 11, and what would have been a 10-point swing, which is like, what, three threes that you could hit in a row? It's
yeah.
now 12. That's four threes. And you're running out of timeouts and everything. Like,
Yeah.
that's really hard to come back from. Um, and then Indy fouls at 104, and that's when the game felt over,
Hmm.
unfortunately, because you have to foul kind of to get back in the game. But I don't know. I felt really bad. It was very clear, I think they had given up, which isn't a theme you had seen from Indy this entire playoffs. So I was like, what are they like?
They're
Play.
tired.
You have time. Yeah, I mean, they're probably exhausted. Because what?
Yeah.
They played a. Let me go back up. They played a 6-game series, I believe, against New York. I guess it was only 5 games in the conference semifinals, and I guess it was 5-5-6-7. So it's not as bad as it could have been, but they still had like
Hmm.
an 80, 81, 82 game season. I forget
Yeah.
the exact amount off the top of my head. Like they're probably tired. Um, but yeah, things I just want to emphasize before we get into kind of discussing the other stuff that came out of the finals is the Thunder have an amazing defense, and I think that was proven, especially in the third when they locked in. Indy is super tenacious. Whenever it felt like the Thunder were about to pull away, they were able to come back and at least keep it close. And they are both super well rounded teams.
Hmm.
And I think this emphasizes team basketball because I'm sure you've heard like a lot, even in other sports, people, not necessarily like Formula One, but even in like baseball, people prioritize having like the star player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I would say both Indy and OKC have a star player in SGA and Halliburton,
Hmm.
but both like the fact that Indy was able to stay in the game without their star player just speaks to how well built they were.
Yeah.
So I think it shows that we need to stop emphasizing so much these stars, and like if teams want to win, instead of prioritizing attracting star talent, try to build around yourself and your own star talent
Like,
instead.
I think that's the point in sports in general. Like, when you only have one really good player, once they're gone, your team is in shambles. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, you have multiple, like, somewhat good players, they can play off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, oh, we just have one amazing player. And I like a lot of smaller market teams are more, they lean more
Yeah.
toward they have a bunch of like decent players. Like, I would say the Brewers. I'm never
Mm-hmm.
seeing one Brewers player constantly getting all of these posts about them. No, it's a bunch of different ones, and they
Yeah.
go on these runs of just doing good for a period of time.
Yeah, and it's because they're well developed and they're forced to develop their players. Because if you're a
Hmm.
small market team, it's really difficult to attract talent. But I also think it builds very much a certain type of culture there, like
Hmm.
that you won't really see elsewhere. I mean, I think certain like longer standing teams, like I would say Boston isn't like is kind of like an exception to this rule because Boston doesn't really attract a ton of talent, unfortunately, because it's chilly outside. Um,
Hmm.
but like in if you're in LA, you're built around attracting stars. Whereas if you were to compete in,
Yeah.
I mean, take the Bucks for example, because you're from there. They completely had to develop Giannis to become the star he is.
Yeah.
That's all them. If you look at Denver, they developed Jokic to become the star he is. Celtics, again, are the exception, I would feel like, to the rule. We drafted most of our players. We developed Tatum and Brown, even though they were top prospects. We just had the ability to pick them. I would say OKC is the prime example of this, considering they basically developed all their talent.
Hmm.
Indy is a good example of this as well. And I think you're actually seeing, with the exception of the Lakers win in 2020, that almost all the teams that have won since then are a lot of talent that they themselves have developed.
Hmm.
And I think it's showing that a lot of teams are not putting their priorities where they need to be if they want to win an NBA championship, because I think they're fostering team basketball and winning culture within their facilities rather than just relying on attracting a LeBron James or Kevin Durant to their team.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think that's really important to emphasize, because if you looked at this series, yes, you had your stars, but they were playing with and working with a team. They were passing is super important, but they were
Yeah.
playing well together to get that open man the shot, whether that be a star player or not. And I just think that is critical, and I think that's something teams need to start understanding.
Hmm.
Um, I think another thing to emphasize is, do we think Indy wins if Halliburton stays in the game?
I think they could have. I think
Mm-hmm.
you lose a player, and even if it isn't a star player, you kind of feel the dread of like, oh God, one of us is now gone, one of us is
Yeah.
down. Like it gets to you. I don't think anybody it wouldn't be, because you're also worrying about them. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot going on. Yeah, you're trying to focus on the game, but like they're your teammate. You care for them. Like
Yeah.
there's just a lot of extenuating circumstances when a
Mm-hmm.
teammate goes down.
I agree. I think, yeah, that could have been a major energy shifter, like, regardless. Like you just said, I think him going down, obviously you're worried, and it being a star, like your best player, has to hurt even more as well,
Hmm.
because you have to feel a lot of dread. But I don't know. I'm curious, because neither of us are Pacer fans, how the Pacers felt when he went out.
Yeah.
Like the Pacer fans themselves, because I know, I think it was 2 years ago. The Celtics were playing the Miami Heat in Game 7. You had been trying to stage a comeback down 3-0. And within the first, like, 5 minutes of the game, Tatum rolls his ankle and is out of the game.
Hmm.
Like, he's injured, and that basically crushed any momentum. So I have to imagine that kind of had to be similar to what they were feeling like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, MVP of the game was Shai. I want to pronounce it Shy every time, and it's Shay. And I think it's because it's SGA. And so I'm like, SGA, Shy, obviously, which
Mm.
does not make sense, but whatever. I believe he is the first player in 48 years. It could be longer than that to win the regular season scoring title, regular
Oh
season
my God.
MVP, and the finals MVP. So my question for you is, with all of those stats and taking the youngest NBA team, uh, basically in NBA history to ever win, and the second youngest team to make the NBA finals, uh, do we think he is the best player in the league?
I feel like you're getting all of that. Like, this could just be his season. But, like, if he continues on this kind of streak,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you start, like, questioning, oh, are they the
That's
best
true.
player? Like, you could have just a really good season and then be done.
That's
But,
true.
like, if you have that continuance of it, then yeah, you're definitely the best player by the
Yeah.
stats.
Yeah. I would say, like, current, I would probably say he probably is the best.
Hmm.
I think, honestly, my only real competition for him would be Jokic on the Nuggets, because I think,
Hmm.
like, if you're talking about MVP, I think Shea has a better well-rounded team, whereas Denver is entirely reliant on Jokic. But I mean,
Hmm.
I also feel like Shea is like a huge reason why the Thunder won this year. So I think for this season, he was definitely the best player in the league. But like obviously, in terms of like best player in league history, I mean LeBron is clearly the best player for like this
Yeah.
like for like I mean I would argue Michael is better than LeBron, but like in terms of like best historic player playing right now,
Hmm.
it's still LeBron. But I just think that's an interesting question. I think I'm with you to where like he's definitely the best player in the league at this very moment right now, but that could
Hmm.
change next year when other people develop. Because I think like Ant in Minnesota, I
Hmm.
think he could be. He's up there. He's improving. Um, Tatum just got hurt, so not him right now, unfortunately. Giannis is crazy good, or at least he was. He's still pretty good.
Yeah.
He's terrifying to play against.
Yeah.
Um, in shape, Luca can be scary, but I also think his play style is like. I love Luca, so this is not like trash on him, but his play style is like a little mind-numbingly slow at times, and he doesn't play defense. So it's like I think to be the best player,
Mm.
you also have to be well-rounded, and I
Yeah.
think Shea is definitely well-rounded. So it's
Hmm.
like I do think he is the best player right now. Um. So yeah, the final score of the game is 103-91. Um, and they are the youngest NBA championship team, I believe, and they are the second youngest team to make the finals. I might need to fact check this, but I think the youngest was probably the Magic with Penny Hardaway and Shaq.
Uh-huh.
Let me look that up really quick.
My
Failing
MacBook's on its
time.
deathbed. Ooh.
Where did you go?
My MacBook's on its deathbed, so I need my charger.
Oh no! No, it was the Portland Trailblazers in 76-77.
Hmm.
Huh. I did not know that. I thought it for sure it was going to be the Magic. I guess their two star players were very
Packers.
young. Um, let's see. OKC future. Do we see more championships in their future?
I bet. Like, you kind of, or at least very good playoff runs.
Yeah. I would say I don't disagree with that. I think next year for the West, it's probably going to be them, maybe LA Lakers, but I don't actually have a ton of confidence in the Lakers. Um, I think the Rockets will be pretty good next year because they'll have playoff experience and they just got Kevin Durant, I believe, from a trade. Um, and then I think the Timberwolves will be good again, is my theory. Um, and I think the Rockets having more experience could make them very competitive, but I don't think the Rockets can win the NBA Finals next year.
Hmm.
As for the East, I see New York being good again. Boston will be good. I don't know if we'll be a playoff team because Tatum's hurt
Hmm.
and a lot of our core is built around it. We also just traded one of our core players, Drew Holiday, but we got a good player back in return. So who knows if we'll be back. My instinct is probably conference finals. Um, Cavs will probably be good in the East. They had a devastating run this year, though, so I imagine things will get kind of shaken up. Um, but I think OKC has proven they are a championship team, and
Yeah.
none of their players are too injured. So I think they have a very bright future, barring injuries. Yeah. OKC was the best team all year. They had the best record in the league. They're probably in the harder conference. Um, and the OKC GM, I just want to highlight Sam Presti might be the best GM in all of basketball, like I was saying earlier. Have you heard about this trade? Uh, Basically, they traded Paul George to the Clippers, which is the other LA team.
Hmm.
And they got Shea back. So they traded an aging Paul George for SGA and 6 first round draft picks, which they basically turned into their team.
Hmm.
And so it's like, you really fleeced them to get like one of their
Yeah.
best players. Yeah. And basically, what's crazy is the turnaround because just 3 years ago they only won 28 total games. Yeah, and I think let me look up the standings. I don't want to get it wrong. But this year they definitely won over 60.
Weren't they first
Yeah, they won
overall?
68 games and only lost 14 games this year. Yeah, they were first overall.
That's what I
Best
thought.
team in all of basketball.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, I mean the highlight and sum up, their coach, Mark Dagnall, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I saw it and on the thing they said it a few times on the broadcast, but words are hard. Did amazing to coach, and he really helped the team lock in after the halftime for the third quarter.
Hmm.
And the indie coach Rick Carlisle really deserves his kudos because he took a team that probably I would say they probably should have made it, but like we're not likely to make it,
Yeah.
and took the best team in the league to game 7.
Hmm.
So I think they deserve a ton of kudos. Um, My dad also really wanted me to point out when I was talking to him about this that OKC and the Celtics are built very similarly, and that he was the most scared of OKC for us to face if we made it to the finals. Um, because he views Shea and Williams as JT and Jalen Brown. Caruso is a Derek White type character, and Chet is like is their tall lanky white guy, and we have a tall lanky white guy, Kristaps Porzingis. So they're
Uh,
built very similarly as the core.
hmm.
Um, in sadder news, what do we think of Indy's future for next year with the Halliburton injury?
I think they're gonna need a year to recover.
I think so too, which is unfortunate for them. And also,
Yeah.
Achilles can be really difficult to come back from. So, like, who even knows? Because it's
Yeah.
not like you're going to be able to play very much on it,
No.
like to practice. So, I don't know. Um, is there anything else you wanted to note for this?
No.
Okay.
This was
Well,
your
that was
episode,
a.
not mine.
I know you did good though. I'm proud of you.
Oh yeah. Well, it's good that I just know sports.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is it's not like you weren't paying attention. You just have a lot less interest in basketball than I do. So I'm gonna
Which is
remember it. Plus,
which is so funny because
yeah.
every single person in my family has played basketball.
Well,
Like
I mean, my
my
dad played basketball, so I think he's the reason I'm like
my
interested.
grandpa played basketball for the army. Both my mom and my uncle played basketball in high school. Um, I played basketball for like 5 years in elementary school, but then I have asthma. I can't run that much. Um, like my
Fair.
cousins played basketball too. Like we were a big like basketball family, but we weren't like an NBA family. I think my grandpa would watch March Madness because I feel like most of America would say they like college more than NBA.
I'm in the minority for that one, which
Yeah.
actually sucks because I'm a UConn fan. So, like,
Yeah.
my college basketball team is also great. I live my life of basketball fandom in luxury. Um,
Because I feel
but
like only
yeah,
like when you get into it, like foreigners really like NBA. Like people not from the
yeah,
US are gonna watch NBA over college, obviously.
I would agree. Because college is more of a US thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Annika just texted me, "Do you like cherries?" And I'm now very confused. I saw that pop up on my computer
Your
screen, and I'm
key
like,
screen, yeah.
"Huh?"
Her and her
But
weird things all the
yeah, I
time.
imagine that she and Kevin were arguing about something,
Oh, I bet.
but I don't know. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. This was a pretty fun NBA season, capped off by really devastating injuries for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I am excited for the next season to start. I'm hopeful to watch. Oh, she got back to me. I'll fill the podcast in on the cherries.
Oh yeah, please. Please
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
us
yeah.
about the cherries.
Apparently, they're a natural anti-inflammatory, so eat more cherries for your joints. Okay. I have bad joints, so that's what that's referencing for. I'll send her good to know with the like salute. Um,
Oh,
I that's so random. I
so
don't know.
random.
I don't know. She must
It's
have cherries
Annika.
at home, and like her parents may have brought it up or something. But
Hmm.
yeah, anyway, that's our podcast for today. NBA season this season was quite fun, really competitive. A lot of people did not expect the Thunder as champions despite being the best team in the league. So kudos to them. Yay. Devastated for the Pacers. Devastated for my Celtics fandom. Uh, check us out on YouTube and Spotify. That's where our podcasts are posted. We're trying to figure out how to do Apple Podcasts, but it's confusing. But soon we'll probably be up there as well. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We are at 2OJ Pod, I believe, on both.
Yeah.
Um, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky. We're either at OJ Pod or 2OJ Pod there. Um, and yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching. Bye bye.